My journaling has transformed and evolved so much ever since I started over 15 years ago. And so in today's video, I wanted to show you guys the progression of how my journaling went from this to now this over the years that I've been journaling. So this is my stack of 25 completed journals. I started when I was 6 years old. I started daily journaling when I was 14, right about here. So all of these journals here have been over the past about 7.5 years. And this is my current journal. It's my 26th journal. It actually kind of matches me today just a little bit. And I am a little bit over halfway done with it. When I tell you my journaling has changed so many different ways, it's kind of crazy, and we're gonna get on into it today. What I love about journaling is that it's not just able to capture the evolution of yourself as a person, but it also captures your stylistic choices in your writing, how your handwriting has changed over time, the things you write about, how you write about it, the different tools that you use when journaling, even the kinds of journals. There's just a lot that's happened, a lot of change. All right, so this is my very first journal, diary, whatever you want to call it. First of all, I think we should just take note of how different these both are. If this doesn't scream growing up to you, I don't know what does. So starting off, you can see I wrote in pencil. That is something I never ever do anymore, but as you can see, I definitely wrote in pencil. I was 6 years old, so I was just not thinking about pen versus pencil. I probably just grabbed whatever I had on hand. Take a look at my handwriting. Honestly, for that age, for like 6, 7, that's honestly not terrible, but there is a ton of spelling errors, birthday, strawberries. It really showcases a childlike journal entry. You can also see I didn't go to the end of the page. I went through a weird phase where I wrote circles for periods and the tittle on the eyes and exclamation points. I don't know why I did that. I think my best friend Nora, who I was writing about there, did that, so I probably just copied her. I also drew little doodles and stuff. This is a picture of a brick. I drew a picture of me. You can also see how my handwriting has evolved even just from the beginning of this diary. It took me about 5 years to finish this, so there's a lot of change that this diary shows with my handwriting in my life, the way that I wrote. I drew a little picture of a snowman, still all in pencil. Then in 2012, I started writing with a pen. I'm not sure what made that shift, but I still wasn't finishing up the page or anything. I wrote with a Uniball 207 retractable gel pen, which looks like this. This used to be my favorite pen for the longest time, just because that's what we had at my house, and I just actually really enjoyed it. As you guys know, I've switched to a Pearl Barrel Pentel Energel pen, which looks like this. That's my favorite pen now. There's quite a few pages where I didn't finish it to the end of the page, which personally I just feel like is a waste of paper, but it's whatever. Here it looks like I started using a different pen as well. I also switched it up and wrote with a blue pen. This entry was when I was writing about if my crush was gonna ask me to the dance, and I didn't want my brothers to know because I was scared they were gonna tell my dad. That's really funny. Drew some more pictures, still using a blue pen here. And then I also was writing in some different fun colored pens as well, including this where I switched colors every single line, and I also included a little color key, which was nice. I guess they were smelly pens. I think I got them at like Justice or something. What a throwback. And then after that, I switched colors every single entry where I just wrote in different colors until the end of the journal. And then there's some like blue ones and green ones that's really hard to see, and purple, and that was the end. So overall, there was just not much consistency. It was just a little bit all over the place, but it was still decently structured. So in my second journal, when you open it up, there's these sticky notes, which are really sad. They've got a lot of really sad things on it that I never wrote about, I guess. I just stuck them into my journal. I kept up with the using different colors. So this was a pretty long entry. It was all pink, and then I switched to orange, and then yellow, and then green, and then blue, and then purple, and then pink. I guess this was like my first time doing some sort of like bubble lettering. Also, that's so sad that I said that about my sister. I was 11. Here I switched up the colors every single letter. I drew a stick figure of me with a really big head. This page I didn't write to the end of the page, but almost all of the pages in this journal I did write to the end. So overall, it was still very childlike. I used different colors, but I was starting to write to the end of the pages, and I also stopped writing with pencil. In my third journal, I feel like is really when I started getting into the groove of journaling. I was more consistent, more frequent with my writing. I was really filling up the pages. Most of them are completely full like this. I have these couple entries where I wrote in blue, but for the most part, I was using only a black pen in here. Lots and lots of pages like this. I did, however, write some middle school fantasies in different colors here. So that was in a different colored pen, but that was just so that it stood out to me. And yeah, I don't know. Oh, it's really cringy. Really embarrassing. Those are the kinds of things that I probably will never share on the internet. I also started taping things in this journal, which I had never done before. I even taped in this little lanyard. When I was writing, you can see there really wasn't many paragraphs. It was very much just a stream of all of the thoughts that I had. But I will say my sentence structure, my grammar, my handwriting, all of that was improving quite a bit. This is also the journal when I first started including doodles, not frequently or regularly. Overall, I'd really consider this a transition journal because it was in my teen years, kind of as I was finding myself. I also was finding my rhythm in journaling and just getting more serious about journaling, doing it more regularly. regularly and consistently. Which leads me to my fourth journal when I first started daily journaling. So I started this journal on January 1st of 2017 when I was 14 years old. This journal marks a huge change in my journaling evolution. You can see on this first entry when I first started daily journaling, my plan was just to do it for the whole year. I wasn't even sure if I would make it through the first month, and I had also made a jar of journal prompts so that I could think of stuff to write because I really didn't know how I would make it through a whole year, which is really crazy to think about now that I've been journaling for going on 8 years every single day. I used some color here, some more doodles. There was still a lot of entries with just black pen. Most of the journal entries are like that. I taped in some of the journal prompts from the journal prompt jar that I made. For some reason I taped in this journal prompt with duct tape. I'm not really sure why I did that. Maybe I didn't have Scotch tape on hand. But you can see it's just lots of black pen in here. I didn't really have paragraphs. I filled up the whole page. This must have been the first time that I didn't have my journal on me as midnight was approaching, which tells me that I had the rule where I had to start my journal entry before midnight because I was at a restaurant and it was 11 p.m. So I taped this piece of paper in as my entry for the day. It seems like I also had the rule where I had to write at least 1 page a day. Then for my fifth journal, this is when I first started writing in bigger journals. You can see that it's not terribly big, but it's definitely bigger than the one that I had just previously written in. I was 15 at the time. You can see just how much my handwriting had already improved, even though I guess I was in the car when I was writing this and I didn't think it looked very good. We got some more journal prompts in here, which if you read this is actually crazy because I wrote this in July of 2017 when I was 15 years old. And all I'm saying is that this is still very much a problem. A lot more of a problem 7 years later. Another journal prompt. This is also the journal that I took with me when I went to Scotland. I had never taken a journal with me like traveling abroad or anything. This was also my first time abroad other than from when I was born because I was born overseas. But this was like my first time in my memory going overseas. And so I took this journal with me and wrote in it every single day during my trip to Scotland. Then we move on to the biggest journal that I had written in thus far, which were these journals from Costco. The pages in here are super yellowy, which is something that I very much dislike now, but I used to not care. This is honestly kind of a cute little entry. As you can see though, the pages aren't like terribly in your face yellow. I'm not sure even if the camera is picking it up too much, but it's definitely a yellower tint. This is what the pages of my current journal are. I really love a bright white page, especially because when I add color in my journals, I feel like it makes it pop more, but I wasn't really using color regularly or anything, so I didn't really care about that. You can see though my handwriting is very similar to what it's like now, so it's really cool that in my first diary here you can see how I was like almost growing into my handwriting, kind of like your grown-up teeth. I was still figuring it out, and then I got into like my consistent me handwriting. I also forgot to point out, but you can see I write my A's like a typed A. You can really see and tell that I was in the peak of my teen years. I also taped in more stuff. Here's some butterfly wings. Lots of all black pen journal entries. Lots and lots. I definitely taped in more things into this journal, but still was just using my black pen. Moving into my seventh journal. So I started the journal on the first day of the new year. That's something that I used to try to do every single year, where I would end a journal at the end of the year and then start my journal on the start of the new year, which I don't do anymore. I can't remember what year I made that switch, but we will find out in a little bit. I was still using a black pen to fill up the whole page. Still not many paragraphs, or at least easy to see paragraphs. I can tell that there are like light indentations in places like this, but overall it is just very full pages. Taped in some more stuff as well. My eighth journal is very similar. So is my ninth journal. You can see I put some washi tape here on the outside. Lots and lots of black pen in this journal because I filled it up in like a month and a half or something like that. So I literally was just writing and writing and writing. This was me in 2018 on my first day of school. This might have been the first time I taped in a picture of myself. Oh wait, no, I'm just kidding. I have like a picture in my middle school journal where I have like a picture of my class and stuff, but this might have been the first selfie that I put in my journals. Lots of black pen. You can see I'm still using the Costco journals as well. This is a very bright and fun colored one. Still the same vibes of black pen and occasionally taping things in. Here's a card that I got. I really just taped in a lot of pictures of my crush, which is really embarrassing. More pictures. I hate that. I really hate that. And then I finished this journal at the end of 2018. I wrote 4 pages at the end of this just so that I could finish the journal by the new year. For this Costco journal, I decided to spunk it up a little bit by coloring the sides of the pages all rainbow. Once again, I started on the new year and I was journaling every single day. Here though is when you can see that I started writing the day of the week at the top of my entries. It just has like more context having the day of the week, because if I was writing on a Tuesday that I have a test on Thursday, I would know how far out it was, and then also it makes it easier to then find the entry that that test or whatever would have been on. Still very similar vibes of black pen, full pages, taping things in occasionally. For my 13th journal, I decided to switch it up and write in a different kind of journal. You can see here I was also a little concerned about starting a new brand of journal just because I had been using the same one for so long. Started taping more stuff in. These tabs, by the way, I added them later on, like honestly probably a couple years ago, just to mark some certain entries from when I first started pursuing my faith journey. So I didn't have them though when I was actually writing this journal. Also, because this journal was smaller than the ones that I had been writing in, I started writing 2 pages a day instead of just 1. So I started doing that on April 8th, 2019. I don't do that anymore, but I did do it for the rest of the year in 2019, which is pretty crazy. My 14th journal is the same brand, nothing too special in here, lots of black pen. Then I got a spiral journal. I had used 2 before already. This was the last spiral that I've used. You can see I was still writing 2 pages every day, and I was still trying to finish it by the end of the year. So by the end of this journal, I'm pretty sure I was actually writing 4 pages every single day, just because I had started it almost halfway through November. So I had to make some work on this journal in order to finish it by the new year. Yep, 4 days into this journal, I decided to start writing 4 pages every day on average. You can also see I used a dotted line to separate different times of the day, but I didn't include the time that I started my journal entry yet, which I do now. So I don't know what time it was when I started this or when I picked back up with it, but that dotted line is just to separate 2 different times of the day. You can see a lot of these pages towards the end were very skinny entries because I just was trying to fill up the pages by the end of the year, and writing 4 pages a day was definitely challenging, but I did indeed complete it by the end of the year. My 16th journal. This one is definitely a big milestone in my journaling journey, in the evolution that I've made, because not only was it the biggest journal that I had used at this point, but it's also when I first started creating cover pages in my journals. I recently made a video too where I showed all the different cover pages that I've made, so check it out if you haven't already. And this is also when I first started doing kind of like bullet journal-y type things in my journal. I started using more colors, drawing more frequently, and just making it overall more fun and creative in my journaling. Obviously, you don't need to have a creative journal if that's not your thing. Personally, that's just the phase of life I'm in right now. Not sure how long it'll last. Maybe it'll last forever. Maybe I'll go back to only writing with a black pen. Maybe I'll do something completely different. I just really like the look and creativity behind more of a creative journal entry. This is also when I first started including the time of my journal entries. I feel like it adds so much more context, because then you know if you're writing when you first wake up, when you're about to go to bed, in the middle of the day, or if you write at different times of the day and you include the time each time, you know how much time has lapsed. You can see I started writing with different colors and just having more of a structure as well. There were still plenty of pages that only had black ink. Here's an example when I included the time in a dotted line to show the time that had lapsed. And then also I was experimenting with different colors when writing. Here's a very creative entry. It was a sad one, but it still was very creative. I also was including calendars and stuff in these journals where I wrote down what I did every single day. And I have some fun drawings and whatnot. My 17th journal here. I was still including the calendars in my journal, but I didn't actually finish this month, and that's where I dropped off. I had left space in my journal to do the other monthly spreads, but I never ended up doing it. I also, for some reason, decided to block out my whole week. I didn't use it as a planner. I just kept track of what I did every day and then logged what I did hour by hour. The light pink is all editing, which is crazy to see how much time editing takes up. I still was experimenting with using different colors, but there's still plenty of journal entries that look like this, as you can see. Moving on, this was towards the end of 2020 when I started this journal. It's another big journal. As you can see, this was the first journal that I didn't finish a journal by the new year, because this journal goes from 2020 to 2021. This journal is also when I did my first journaling marathon. I was really trying to be fun with the colors here. You can see right here too that I made like a starred bullet point list of the things that I wanted to write about, and I guess I didn't end up finishing it. I used the blue pen to write like 8 pages on where I was religiously at the time, just so that it like stood out more and was easier to find. January of 2021 is also when I did the journal prompt challenge on my YouTube channel, where I uploaded a YouTube video every single day with a different journal prompt, and I showed what my journal entry looked like as my response to each of the prompts. I actually would do multiple prompts on one day just so that I could film things ahead of time and make sure I was staying on top of all of the editing that I was doing. But because of that, I have a lot of journal prompts in this section of my journal. So even though I wrote this one on January 28th, this was actually the 31st journal prompt that I did. Here is what my thoughts were on it, and then here's the rest of it. We have the return of the Costco journals. Honestly, there's nothing too notable in here. We got another Costco journal, some fun color, lots of pages like this. You can see I was also improving on my hand lettering. Then I went back to a smaller journal. I love this sticker on the front. It's the Fruits of the Spirit. I love the cover page too. I started using color a little bit more frequently in here, but still plenty of black and white entries. And then I went back to a really big journal. I have a lot more artistic journal entries like this, little doodles and stuff, but also there were still plenty of entries that were all black pen. I like this because I did a week where I said what I want to get done and what I actually got done. Then I went back to another Costco journal. This one has very yellowy pages, more fun stuff like that. Still plenty of pages that were just black pen though, and you can also see that I separated the paragraphs as well. Instead of just writing the whole page, I skipped a line in between the paragraphs, which visually I feel like just makes it so much easier easier to look back and read different journal entries. I also did a spread for the new year just to separate 2022 and 2023. I made my class schedule. I just consistently was doing more fun hand lettering, artistic, creative things in my journal. A big part of my journaling evolution was in this journal when I did a month of color. So this was a month challenge that I did, and you can see on the next page is when I started a month of color, which I did for the whole month of August in 2023, and I actually continued to do that. And since then, so almost a year now, I've been including color in all of my journal entries. I think there might be one, maybe two, where I didn't include color, so it's not a super strict rule that I have for myself. Also, when I write multiple pages, I don't always include color on every page, but I try to include color in some way in my journal entries just because I think it's really pretty. It makes it more visually appealing, and I find myself enjoying looking back at old entries a lot more. And it's also easier too to sort through different journal entries from the past because it's easier to find different things when you're looking back at entries. I celebrated 4 years on my YouTube channel, which is really sweet, especially since my 5 years is coming up, and that's when I'm planning on having another reading my diary video. So get excited and subscribe if you haven't already so that you can be here for that. I always like including my class schedules because it's just fun to look back on, and I feel like it adds context when reading back on the journal entries for each semester. I really love my 25th journal. It has golden pages on the side. This was the first journal where I included color on every page, so it's just really fun to flip through. You can see it's just a lot more bright and colorful and fun as you flip through, which I really enjoy and love. I made some hopes and predictions for 2024. Also in November of 2023 in this journal, I did a challenge where I wrote a Bible verse for every day. I did it in different ways each time. I really love how this one looks, and this one as well. I started writing prayers a lot more frequently in this journal, which I really like. And then we get to my 26th journal, which is my current journal. I love this cover page. Honestly, I really love this journal. I love the balance of color and black pen journal entries. This is also a smaller journal than the ones that I had used before. The pages are bright white, which I love. The pages are also numbered, which I really enjoy, especially because it makes it really easy to see how much more of the journal I have left. These pages are also really thick. They're 120 GSM, which I love so much because I love me some good thick pages, and this is the first journal that I really made sure had very thick pages. I definitely think my next journal will be this same brand because it's definitely my current favorite journal, and also it's linked on my Amazon storefront if you're interested. I think it's so cool that journaling can capture your growth over time as a person and just the style of how you write. Let me know if you have any significant changes in your journaling over the years. Also, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys!